We show you registered as Priscilla Olivarez, policy attorney and strategist with Immigrant Legal Resource Center, and self testifying against the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman
Thank you.
Spiller.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Spiller. My name is Priscilla Olivarez. I'm a senior policy attorney with the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I've also spent many years representing individuals placed in inhumane conditions in immigration custody. I'm testifying today in opposition to House Bill 5580. House Bill 5580 is clearly designed to extend the reach of the Trump deportation machine by forcing localities to do the federal government's work at the expense of our local communities. This includes forcing Bexar County, where I live, to enter into a 287G agreement and force our communities to bear the financial and human costs of a 287G program. The data is clear. When immigration officials and law enforcement collaborate, we all suffer. 287G agreements lead to increased racial profiling, civil rights violations, isolation of immigrant communities, and family separations. We've seen so much of this under Operation Lone Star and under the Trump administration. Respectfully, Chairman Spiller, I disagree with your statement earlier today that all you're doing is asking law enforcement to do their job. I instead submit to you, you are demanding law enforcement perform the government's job. And not only are you demanding law enforcement perform the federal government's job, but you're demanding our communities bear the significant costs. I also want to clarify some confusion about immigration enforcement, since this bill would require law enforcement to engage in immigration enforcement. An ICE warrant is not a real warrant. It is not reviewed by a judge or any neutral party to determine if it's based on probable cause. ICE warrants are issued based on alleged civil immigration violations and do not provide probable cause of a crime. I also want to clarify immigration proceedings are civil proceedings, not criminal proceedings. And ICE warrants are distinct from an ICE detainer or an ICE hold. An ICE detainer is a request from ICE, it's just a piece of paper, to a law enforcement to hold someone past the time they are scheduled to be released from criminal custody. An ICE detainer does not prove a person's removability. In fact, ICE detainers have even been erroneously issued against U.S. citizens. Chairman Spiller, you mentioned you were highly concerned about costs, so with that in mind, I want to spend my limited time remaining highlighting the massive financial waste we have seen where 287G agreements have been implemented in other states. In Prince William County, Virginia, a 287G program cost $26 million in a little over 5 years. This program was so costly the county had to raise property taxes and take money from its rainy day fund to implement its 287G program. In Maricopa County, Arizona, the overtime cost alone to operate a 287G program created a $1.3 million deficit in just 3 months. And in Harris County, the county ended its ICE agreement after facing $1 million in overtime costs every 2 weeks. If this bill is passed, our largest Texas counties will be responsible for the massive costs related to implementing a troubling and unconstitutional 287G program.
I do appreciate your testimony. I thank you, and I do appreciate you pointing out different issues, all those things. I appreciate very much. Members, any questions? Representative Weiner.
Thank you so much, Chairman, and thank you for being here today. I wanted to get a little more clarification on what you were saying about ICE warrants.
Yes.
So is there any connection between an ICE warrant existing and somebody having engaged in dangerous criminal activity?
So I just want to clarify, an ICE warrant is not indicative of somebody's criminal activity. Now, sometimes somebody may have an ICE warrant issued and also have committed a crime. That may happen, but those are separate. It does not bear on a person's criminality. The same thing for an ICE detainer, because there's a lot of confusion I've heard today about what an ICE detainer is and an ICE warrant. It may say it's a warrant, but it is not a real warrant. A judge did not sign off on that warrant. And so it's really important that we understand the difference between what an ICE warrant is and a criminal warrant that has actually been reviewed by a judge. Because we're asking law enforcement to engage in unconstitutional activities. That's what we're asking when we're asking them to engage in a 287G program. And this is why a lot of these programs have been challenged and they have resulted in litigation. I just want to add one more piece about litigation. Maricopa County accumulated $43 million in litigation costs, because that's something that we should all be concerned about, right? Representative Lowe, you should be concerned, Chairman Spiller, about those litigation costs, because that's something that we're all going to have to bear.
So for this ICE warrant that does not have a clear connection to any sort of criminal behavior.
Correct.
What types of situations do usually lead to an ICE warrant being issued?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think it can depend on, let's say somebody didn't attend a hearing. They might have an ICE warrant issued. There can be runs on databases, but we've also seen ICE warrants. Let's just talk about what we're seeing in the news today. Somebody hasn't committed any type of, they've met all their requirements. They'll attend their ICE check-in. Many people have an ICE check-in, and then they're apprehended for doing what they're supposed to do, as what was said earlier. You follow all the right rules, and you're still apprehended because these ICE warrants, they're not probable cause of any wrongful doing. So an ICE warrant could be issued on somebody just because ICE wants to issue that warrant on somebody and they want to apprehend them. And that's what we're seeing. All we have to do is look on the news today, right? And we see that happening. There's no criminality happening on part of that individual. They've met all the requirements, even according to going to their ICE check-in, attending hearings, and they're still being apprehended.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Well, let me do a follow